Hi there. This time, instead of being in a hotel in the middle of the night showing the new prototype of the FS5 like last year, I'm going to show you with proper lighting and I hope good audio the brand new FS7 Mark II that I have just received. This model is basically an improvement and an upper model to the FS7. This is as I was telling you, the Mark II, but it won't replace the original model, but will live together with it in an upper, let's say, segment or environment of application and also price. The first, let's say, innovation that we have is, as everybody could imagine, the ND filter. We have incorporated the electronic variable ND filter that we had on the FS5. If you have ever worked with it, it's an LCD layer in front of the sensor that allows you not only to have the typical clear 1x4, 1x16, 1x64 steps on the filter wheel, but you can assign different values to those three positions. So one physical change is, apart from the wheel over here and the buttons related to it here, is that you don't have the clear 1x4, 1x16, 1x64 laying on the filter wheel, but position clear 1, 2, and 3. So you can assign, for instance, value 1x32 to the second position instead of the fixed steps that we had in a classical camcorder or even in the FS7 Mark I. I'm calling it Mark I to say it instead of the original model, so it's just for a speech. Also, not only we are going to have those steps that we can configure in the ND filter, but we can also leave it in auto mode. So imagine you are shooting indoor and then you go outdoor. A typical situation in which you will find overexposure on your signal because there is a lot of more light over there. So it's very typical to close your iris, so you change your depth of field, or you can change the shutter value, so the dynamics of the image will change. Instead of that, you can apply the ND filter. So the light that reaches your sensor is much smaller in that case. So it will automatically adapt to that light, and you will keep your aesthetics, your depth of field that you had indoor, you will have it outdoor also. So we have directly incorporated that electronic variable ND filter from the FS5. Also, what we have modified here is the E-mount. This is the E-mount lever lock type that we have incorporated and shown for the first time on FS7. So the big advantage is that instead of putting the lens and then twisting it like in the traditional E-mount, now you can simply point this white point in front of this one. Sorry, I don't see it from behind, and then you positively lock the lens. So it's like a PL mount. It's the same, basically the same technology, but it's very important for a broadcast and cinema environment. Why? Because if you have a very big lens in front of you, and through an adapter, imagine a box lens through in 2/3 inches, and then through an adapter converted into E-mount. It's not that easy to swing the lens to be attached to the camera, and maybe you don't want to move the camera due to precision on your arms, simply. Or imagine you are in a cinema environment and you have the rods, you have the follow focus, mate box, and all that equipment. It's not that easy to swing the lens and then attach it to the camera without moving all that equipment. In this case, it's very simple. You simply press the release button, move the collar, and then it is loose. And for putting it here is the same way, but opposite. So now it is fixed. So as you can see, I don't need to move the lens. Obviously, it is totally compatible with the E-mount lenses and adapters that we had for the FS5, FS7, NEX, FS700, 100, A7S, A7R, blah, 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 blah. The E-mount technology for lenses. Also, one thing that has changed physically is the arm grip. Well, by the way, I don't know if you have noticed it, that finally I can leave it laying on the table. Sorry, you don't see that, but it's flat in the bottom. So apart from that, obviously I can, well, you could see that I was using the camera in a lower position. So this is very typical for a fictional shooting environment. Typically for news, you put your camera on a semi-shoulder or shoulder position, so it's at the height of your eyes. Instead of that, with this position, as you had on the FS5, you can shoot from a lower position or an upper position, allowing you to provide a much more cinematographic aesthetics to your image. But if you want to use it in a shoulder traditional configuration, you not only have the typical knob that we have for the FS7, but also you have another one here that allows you to change the arm length very easily. Because maybe you remember that with the Mark I version, we had a couple of knobs, screws here, that for which you needed to have tools, to have a screwdriver. Now it's as simple as this. So it's very easy, especially when you are using a camera that is going to be used in different environments due to space, for instance, or by various users. So very easy, and now I can obviously modify the position of the grip. On the left part of the camera, also a couple of changes have been made. Maybe you remember the rod bars for the FS7 Mark I, they were cylindrical. So it was very usual that depending on the environment, for instance, due to humidity, it could get loose and then your screen could drop a bit. Now, these rod bars, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, they are square. So there is an adapter in the middle that allows you to obviously put the typical 1.5 centimeters rod bars, but now having a square bar is much more stable, let's say, and also each of the fixing parts is through a knob, so it's very easy to modify the position of the LCD just by using those knobs on the rod bars. So let me put it up here to allow you to see the rest of the camera. More different things. Maybe you have noticed that we have an LED here, which is lit in green. Very big improvement, obviously not. But in the past, when you switched on the camera, if maybe you have not connected the LCD bus or it was wrongly connected, you couldn't know if the camera was already powered. So now we have that little detail on the lower part of the camera, very close to the on-off switch. Also, maybe you have seen a strange, so far, piece that I have here, this equipment. Sorry, let me. So it's very typical to have to be using FS7 in a light environment. Some people were not totally used to the loop, because in this position you have a lot of weight on the upper part of the arm in that case. So this is provided, this is supplied by default, very easy to fold, and as the loop, it includes the new mechanism for attaching it to the LCD. So instead of having two clamps, we have one fixed part on the upper side. In this case, it's a metal that you can move, but there is no need to attach it by hand at the same time in both up and low side. And you can simply detach it with one hand. so it's very easy to detach. So when you are on field, simply putting this and then attaching the lower part is much easier than having to put both parts of both clamps up and down when you are supporting the camera with just one hand, like right now. Also, a different thing, listening to the customer's feedback, is the audio lead or cap. I don't know how to say that. Instead of being folded in a horizontal direction, it is now folded upside down. Why? Because many customers, if it was not totally closed and you dropped something or something hit the camera, then it could be broken. Now, if you hit it, it simply falls down and there is no problem with that. Also, for the cards, well, I don't have any here, but the space that is out of the camera when you eject the card is bigger, so you can grab it much better than before. So basically, these are the main parts, but there is one that I was really surprised, happily surprised about, because maybe you remember that on the first version of the FS7 we had 6 assignable buttons, 3 on the grip, 1 here, number 4 is here, and number 6 is here in the inner part. But here you had only 3 assignable buttons. Now we have 4 more, so we have up to 10 assignable buttons. One big advantage of both FS7 Mark I, FS5, FS7 Mark II now, is that these buttons are in a, let's say, donut or ring shape, so they are very easy to locate even without looking at the camera. So you don't need to look at the camera to know that you have these buttons here, because these buttons here. You simply touch them and you know that they are there and you know which one you are pressing without looking at the camcorder. So a very big advantage, because with this camera it's very likely that you are in an environment in which you want to shoot everything without looking at the camcorder. And now, regarding the things that it has in common with FS7, is basically everything. I mean, the ergonomics are the same, the body is magnesium built, so much more lighter, it is dust and moisture proof, or well, splash proof. So also the cooling is just through this, let's say, channel. So if any water drops into the camera, theoretically it won't be injured. This is not an underwater camera, obviously, but in case you are shooting in a light rain, it will leave. Also, we have the MI shoe. Let me show you here in this camera. MI shoe allows you to put a receiver like this one, or even a torch, but I prefer the receiver. I like it much more. So I can I can put the receiver directly on the camera, and then I can use a transmitter like this one, UWP-D type transmitter, and then you don't need any external cable to input the signal into the camera. Also, from September this year, 2016, we have announced a double receiver and an adapter, an SMAD-P3D for dual, that allows to have 2 transmitters with 1 receiver, which is very nice because, as you may remember from FS7 Mark I, we have 2 XLR inputs and 4 audio channels. So they are very nice in case you are shooting, I don't know, an event in which you are receiving the audio from an audio mixer, or you are shooting a live concert or an interview and you want to have environmental noise apart from the 2 electret microphones. So very useful to have 4 audio channels, and 2 of them coming wirelessly. Also, we have the USB connector here. Let me show it here. And this adapter, let me take it off the cap. Yeah, the IFU WLM3 is supplied by default, and allows you to control your camera via sorry, it is this way, via Content Browser Mobile from your phone. Obviously we have NFC, so you can touch and start controlling the camera. And also if you buy a CVK WA100, that is like this size, more or less, it's like a metal box that has two USB connectors. You can use this dongle for one USB, and you can connect a 4J or LTE dongle on the other one, and you can record the proxies into that box on an SD card and then upload them into your FTP, for instance, which is very nice in case you are working online, and the edition can be started before you have left the facility in which you are shooting. Also related to shooting, maybe you remember that you have one, you have one record button, you have another record button here, and you have a third one here on the side. But you have two slots for cards. This allows you to shoot in what we call a simultaneous recording mode. So for instance, maybe you are shooting an event like a concert or a football match, let's say. So you can have all your contents recorded, all the halftime or all the concert in card B, let's say, and that is commanded by this button, and the highlights of the event with your regular grip button. So in that case, it's very nice, not only for editing, but also in case you are shooting in a multi-camera environment. So allows you to lock all the cameras with the same audio reference. And regarding to multi-camera applications, maybe you remember that we have the XAVC FS7 adapter here that allows you not only to have synchro, timecode, and internal ProRes recording into the SD card, but you can also have a RAW output. That RAW output is basically the same architecture as FS7s or FS5s, or obviously FS700s, FS5s, or FS7 Mark I's architecture, which consists on using the raw signal, convert it into another domain, into data, let's say, and then use the SDI cable for transmitting that signal. So it's not actually a baseband video signal, but a data stream. That is why we need to use a decoding system, which for FS5 or FS700 or FS7, it can be either Sony's solution, which is a HXR IFR5 for decoding, and then AXSR5 for recording. That is Sony's solution. And also you have Atomos or Convergent Designs solutions. So they have a license so that they can, let's say, understand our our data stream, and then either record it in RAW or transcode into another codec. Also, related to codecs, internally you can record even 4K in 422 10-bit, which in PAL mode it means 500 megabit per second. In NTSC mode, it can reach up to 600 megabit per second. But if you are working in a fully broadcast environment, for instance in an ENG for a regular TV, you can use the, let's say, classical XDCAM codec, which is actually MPEG-2 422 10-bit. And in that case, your workflow will be totally adapted because it's a universal way of shooting in that broadcast environment. Also, you can apply S-Log 2 and 3. The color space in this case in Mark II has increased the recording, not the sensor, but the recording can be even BT 2020. But coming back to S-Log, maybe you remember that with S-Log we can maximize the dynamic range on the sensor. So imagine this is light, this is output. Instead of having a linear curve, what we have is something like this. is a logarithmic shape which keeps more or less the linear values in the lowlights, but highlights are compressed, so that we can apply an anti-log curve to linearize the signal. So that way we can recover all the values even in highlights, because this camera is about 14 stops. Obviously, with a standard gamma curve, you cannot reach those 14 stops, but with S-Log, you can shoot. For instance, imagine in this situation, I have a window right here, so you could be shooting this part of the scene and also the theoretically overexposed part in the outdoors. But a little advice, be careful with that, because it is very typical to get used to shooting with S-Log 2 or S-Log 3. It's very comfortable because everything is in the dynamic range, let's say, but that is very useful for shooting outdoor. When you come indoor and there is a small light, there is no need to use the full dynamic range, but there is something in the standard of, in the definition of S-Log gamma curve. There is a minimum ISO of 3200 ISO, which means that low light signal is going to be raised, some gain is going to be applied. And that is why some people say that it is a bit noisy in low lights. It is not because of the camera, it's not because of the gain, but a matter of the standard. So be careful with that, because sometimes there is no need to use the S-Log gamma curve, and many of you are using it, and then you will find noise, as I was telling you. So just a little tip, a little advice. You can do obviously whatever you want. You are much better than me, obviously, and unfortunately for me. But this is what I wanted you to know, the basics about the FS7 Mark II. So I hope you like it. And just one little note. This is not the lens that will be bundled with the camera. This is the, let's say, old 28-135. But at IBC this year we announced the 18-110, which is designed for Super 35 or APS-C sensor. This one, the old one, let's say, was designed for full frame sensor, which means that since you are not using the full frame size but Super 35, you are using the central part of the image. So you are doing like a tele effect on the signal, which means that you need to multiply by 1.5 the focal length for full frame. So that 28 that I have here with this sensor will be converted into 42. So I lose my wide angle part of the lens. Now with the new lens, which is an 18-110, I have an actual 18 viewing angle, let's say. So you don't need to apply a conversion factor for using it on the Super 35mm sensor. So just that note, but my advice for that is, okay, bear in mind that lens, it's very useful. That is the lens that will probably save your life in case you need it, because it's a nice zoom lens, much faster than this one, much better, I mean faster in terms of operation. It keeps being an f4, but you can use whatever lens you want, even Super 16 if you crop or just scan the middle part of the image, or 2/3 lens. But don't worry, you don't need to spend a lot of money for using E-mount cameras. You simply need to spend your money on adapters that converts your lens into E-mount, or your camera into that lens mount. So you won't be not wasting, but investing a lot of money on new lenses, because you can simply recycle the lenses you have been using so far. So I don't want to make it longer, because it's very annoying, I can imagine, for all you. So you can take a look on your official dealer. Please ask us, Sony, our dealers, or even you can write some lines to me, as you can see in my YouTube channel, through Twitter, through my blog. So you are more than welcome, and sorry if I cannot reply to you in a very short time, but sometimes I'm very busy. So thank you very much for watching this video and the other ones that I have in my channel, and as I was telling you, we can keep in contact. So thank you very much.